All right. Well, I'm Terry Kriesel. And I interned, as part of becoming a pastor, I interned in St. Louis, Missouri, in a Black area, and I got to know some Black people. And when the Selma and Montgomery march came up, about 30, 35 of us hired a bus and we went down and marched from Selma to Montgomery. What I remember is that when we stopped at the first rest bus stop down south, there were men standing on either side of the sidewalk, some with rifles and some with pistols. And what I realized was they weren't there to protect us, just the opposite. And I guess that was the first time I felt fear. But we used facilities on the way down. We slept in the bus. We got to Selma and we started the march. And what I remember is people waving guns at us and people throwing rocks. I didn't get hit seriously, but other people did. And people were dropping out along the way. And it was a large crowd and a large crowd of people. And what I remember was all the hatred from the sidelines of people shouting and yelling and cursing at us. And standing there listening to Martin Luther King, we were all afraid, I think. We had to be because of what was surrounding us. And we stayed there and listened to Martin Luther King, and were inspired by him. What I realized when I was working in that Black area in St. Louis, I grew up in poverty. My father was an alcoholic, and those people lived in poverty. And I felt for them because I had been through something similar when I was young. When my father came home at night, I would grab my two brothers and we'd hide under the bed because we didn't want to see him and we didn't want him to see us. And it was that kind of fear, absolute fear for our lives, really, that I felt down there at Selma. I was comforted by the fact at the same time that it was such a large crowd and that so many people were there to make their statement that they believed in equality for everyone, not just white people. And that was comforting to me. I saw the people on the outside and the hatred and the anger. But I also saw the people on the inside who were standing there in the face of that. I didn't think of myself in terms of courage, but I thought of those Black people on the march in terms of courage. Just make a statement that all of us are equal and that we all deserve an even chance at life and at making our way in life, and that being free to love each other and respect each other is so important for all of us. So that's what I learned from that. You can ask me anything you want.
Actually meet Dr. King yourself?
No, it was a huge crowd. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of people we got to listen to him, but he couldn't introduce himself. He couldn't possibly introduce himself to all of us. But that was enough to hear him in person and to watch his courage to stand up there in the face of that and make his statement that we're all created as God's children and that we all deserve an even chance at life and happiness. And we all deserve a chance to love and be loved. That we're human beings. Now, I regard that for all life, but right now we're talking about human beings. So that's what I learned from that. Carol, my wife, was also scared to death. She remained in St. Louis, but she was scared to death that I was going to die because people were dying then. We don't remember that, but when I lived in Indiana and Iowa, people died, not just in the South, but in the North too, out of the hatred of white people that felt that something was being taken away from them. Well, in a sense it was. The Black people no longer were voiceless slaves. They had a voice too. And that was part of the reason for the march, to give us all a voice and to make a statement and say, we're all created equal. We're all created to give us a chance at freedom in this world. And that we all deserve to be loved by one another. And hatred doesn't have a place in our hearts. So I guess even though I'm a retired clergy, I'm a retired psychologist too. I thought that loving each other was our expression of our faith. And that's what really mattered. What one person believed or another person believed faith-wise, that's okay. But to me, the important thing is that we treat each other really as precious children of God and that we all are related to Him. Thank you. So that's what I remember. I'm 83 years old now, and so it was a long time ago. But it's something I will never forget. And I have to say, I didn't realize when I left St. Louis on that bus with the other clergy and nuns what we were really getting into. I thought we were going to be safe and go down there and make a statement. I didn't really realize at the beginning how much jeopardy there was in going to do that. But I pretty quickly found out that there was a lot of hatred about, and that some people anyway were willing to act on that hatred. And that's the face of evil in this world, the hatred and the disregard for each other. That's really what evil is, in my view. So I think that's all I have to say. I'm glad we did that because it gives us a monument to look back to and something to focus on to help us along the way.
Yeah, and you were telling me it's very important for us to remember him on Monday.
Yes, because he stood up for what was right and for loving each other rather than hatred. He's a symbol for us, I believe.
And a symbol of that means what it is to be
Yeah.
Christian.
Yeah.
It's like it's not just your own people that you're loving, but to have a more radical view of love and who is God's child.
I agree. Yeah. To realize that we are to love one another and care for each other. So, thank you.
Yes, I think our country is still working on this.
Oh,
That's another reason to remember the
you
history.
bet we're still working on it. We still have a long, long way to go. Yeah. But there are people who are pushing us along that way. So that's hopeful.
Yeah,
So,
and Jesus is still speaking.
yep. Yep. Yep.
Thank you so much for talking about this.
I'm glad to do that because I think by talking about it, it shares that experience with others and gives them hope that some of us, at least, are willing to stand up for loving one another and caring for each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Terry Kriesel, Reverend Dr. Terry Kriesel.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll see you back at Stella in a few weeks.
I hope so. Thank you.
Say hi to
I
Karen.
look forward to it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.